Welcome back, Trekkies. This is Highwater Trek Co-Podcast, and I'm Katy.
I'm Sam.
And we are here today to struggle through our opening once again.
Once again, have an awkward introduction to ourselves and our podcast. But thank you guys for tuning in and putting up with us. We're quite grateful for every single one of you.
We are. You're real troopers.
Yes, you are. So before we launch off into our chosen topic here for the day, we wanted to discuss one of our upcoming events that we're pretty excited about. I think we talked about it on a previous episode, but we're starting to do a lot more planning and get a lot of the logistics hammered out, and that is our Spring Movement Challenge.
Yes, it's going to run from April 1st to May 6th. And the challenge is to spend 120 minutes outside per week, preferably moving your body.
Right, and if you listen to our mental health episode, you may know why we chose the goal of 120 minutes per week. Studies show that 120 minutes a week spent outside has a remarkable impact on one's mental well-being. So we just thought that seemed like a pretty attainable goal, and it is proven to be helpful. So we hope that that is something that you guys consider to be attainable as well.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to getting out there and seeing the difference it might make for me. We are working out some of the details still, but you can sign up for free and get a hiking log, just like our fall one. We know that much. We are working on some paid tiers, details to be determined, but we can tell you that part of the proceeds are going to go to the Hike for Mental Health organization.
That's probably my favorite part. It's very exciting. So stay tuned. We'll be talking about this more, but be sure to check out our social pages, and just within no time at all, we hope to be posting some information, and before you know it, a place to sign up. So stay tuned. April 1st is when that will be starting, though, so it's not too far from now.
Mm-hmm.
So moving along, since we are in the middle of March, spring is basically here. We know a lot of people are getting out on the trails and trying to enjoy kind of this mild weather. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about just good hiking and trail etiquette, and just really how to be a respectful person to others and your environment while you're on the trail. And part of good hiking and trail etiquette is following the principles of leave no trace. And Katy's going to dive into those for us a little bit more to help us kind of understand what that means and what all those different principles, how they can be applied in your outdoor recreation time. So to start off with, my first suggestion, I don't know if this is a hard rule, but is to be friendly towards others. You know, a nice salutation, a quick conversation is pretty much always welcome. And if not, usually the person is quick to let you know that they're not really wanting to communicate with you. But I do think that you really just can't go wrong with trying to be friendly and just respectful towards others when you are actually out there. Something that can look like is always making your presence known. If you come upon another hiker, they may not automatically see you. You don't want to startle them or scare them. So it's not a terrible idea just to yell out a friendly, "Hey, how you doing?" or something along those lines.
I like that.
And some people are weary of others when they're on trail, especially by themselves, especially women. So I think that it is worth consideration in how your own behavior might make others feel on the trail. And, you know, we just want everyone to feel comfortable and safe. And I'm sure that you feel the same way. So just being friendly without being overly nosy or
I like that distinction.
yeah, or, you know, certainly not harassing anyone or demanding someone's time and attention when they don't want to give it to you. You know, that's not being friendly. But just being open and agreeable. Well, I don't know if agreeable is a great word, but just amenable maybe. And just trying to be a pleasant presence on the trail. Now let's get into a little bit of hiking right away. This is kind of an interesting topic, and I see a fair amount of debate about this back and forth. So what that means is just who gets to pass who and in what order, and who needs to yield for another and why. So to start off this conversation, I'll say the technical rule is that uphill hikers have the right of way over descending hikers. So if you're going downhill, technically it is your role to step away and let an uphill hiker come through, not require them to stop. You know, I think the idea is that they are in the midst of forward motion, and it takes a lot of energy to stop that and then start again sometimes, or they may be in a zone. They're just in a maybe more physically challenging position than you are at that moment. So I think the idea is to let them to continue going uphill and to get out of their way if that's what they want. I will say I personally am always ready to take a break, pretty much.
Me too.
So when I'm going uphill, I am more than happy to let descending hikers go. I'm more than happy to get out of their way. Not everybody feels that way, so I tend to give vocal cues to that's what I'm wanting to do, is to take a break. So, you know, I'll just kind of pull off to the side and say, come on down, you know, or I'm ready for a break, something along those lines. And I don't think that sentiment is I don't think that's uncommon. A lot of people like to yield to people coming downhill when they're going uphill. But the technical rule is that uphill has the right of way. So it's something to keep in mind. Continuing on with this conversation, technical rule is that bicyclists are to yield to hikers, which I didn't actually know this, and I found this pretty interesting.
I didn't either.
I guess the idea is that people on bicycles can maneuver faster than hikers, which I guess makes sense. I personally see myself yielding to mountain bikers most of the time. It's not something I encounter a whole lot. I don't hike a lot on mountain bike trails. In my mind, it seems like it could be difficult to stop a bike quickly.
Right. Depending on the terrain, I could see that.
Right. So, you know, while these rules are somewhat decided, I think it's important to realize that every situation is a little bit different, and it kind of just depends on who is there and, you know, who each person is and what their goals are and just kind of the state that they are in at that moment. But again, technically bikes are supposed to yield to hikers, and if you're hiking along and you see bikes coming and you don't want them to stop, you would rather just get out of their way. I think, again, just a quick, hey, I'm pulling over, you guys come on through, something along those lines is probably going to do the trick just fine. Just trying to communicate what your expectations are and what your intentions are. You know, if both parties are willing to do that, like, we're going to be in good shape no matter what.
Right. Otherwise, you get the awkward,
right.
Where you're like trying to do the same thing.
Right. Or you get run over.
Yeah.
So, moving along, this is not surprising to me, but I hadn't really read about this. And this is something that could come up quite a bit here in the Ozarks because a lot of people ride horseback. So, and that is who yields to horses, or do horses yield to us? And it is probably obvious that everyone should yield to horses, and those in horse riding parties. It's not going to be that simple for a horse and a horse rider to get off trail. It's not good for the trail for them to do that. And not to mention, horses can be a little bit more unpredictable than humans. Not always, but we don't want to scare them. So it's recommended that if you are to encounter a horseback rider or a number of riders, is to try to move completely out of the way as calmly as possible, to speak to the riders in advance so the horses and the riders know that you're there, but you want to do so calmly, not screaming at them. And it's also recommended that you give them as wide a berth as possible, and if possible to move to the downhill side of the trail to let them pass. First of all, when you're standing up over a horse, you can kind of look predatory to them and it can spook them.
Okay.
And also, if horses do get scared and try to run, they tend to want to run uphill.
That's interesting.
Not downhill, which makes sense. I'm sure downhill seems like a bad idea. You know, like that seems dangerous, guys. So you yourself want to go downhill and you'll seem like less of a threat to the horse and stay out of their way if they decide to go apeshit.
Well, that's really fascinating. I had honestly no idea.
It's interesting though, right?
Yeah.
And just to really try to stay calm, you don't want to turn something into a bad situation for the riders. And, you know, you want the horses to be having a good time too. Hopefully they're not out there terrified. So.
Side note, it's funny to me that, like, ape shit means, like, crazy, but horse shit is, like, that's bull.
I know.
Like, who made that distinction once upon a time?
So many animals just listed in that description.
Poor things. They're like, why are you so obsessed with our shit?
Like, don't drag us into your human nonsense. They probably walk around saying, like, man shit or something.
Oh, my God.
Okay, rolling along. Continuing with our right-of-way conversation, there's a little bit of a debate on this, but generally single hikers probably are better off yielding to groups. That's not always the case, so it is going to be kind of like situation dependent, but a lot of times it's going to be easier for one hiker to get over as opposed to a whole bunch of hikers.
Right.
At the same time, groups should work to stay in single file when passing another hiker, or if the trail is narrow. Whether you're in a group, solo, pairs, whatever, you should always only take up half of the trail. You want to stay on the right side of the trail. Of course, you're going to pass on the left, but you want to work to stay on half of the trail. So that means if you're in a group, you don't need to be 3 or 4 people wide, especially if there's oncoming human traffic.
Yeah.
You know, and I've not run into a lot of huge groups, but I'm sure that I will at some point. So it's just kind of interesting. And I think a good thing to keep in mind when you are hiking in a group of just being a little bit more mindful that you can kind of be a nuisance in more higher numbers.
That's true.
So moving on from the right-of-way conversation, just some ideas to stay on the good side of your fellow humans out there is to try to be quiet. Most of us don't go into these areas to hear like loud noises of society. People don't want to hear your cell phone ringing. If you can't turn it off, please silence it, put it on vibrate. Even that might be a little bit too much noise if you were to ask me, but you know, people have different needs and requirements.
My phone vibrate is so loud. Like,
right.
Sometimes I'm not sure it's any quieter.
Right. I know. It's kind of startling sometimes. Yeah. It's like comes alive for a second. Got some dingers today. Okay. I see quite a bit of arguing about this, but probably best just to assume no music that anyone else can hear. You know, use your headphones or your earphones if that's something that you need while you're hiking. Or just keep it really low so that others can't hear it. But it would be hard to have it so low that, like, someone passing you wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
I just saw a bunch of people arguing. Well, I won't say arguing. Talking about how nobody wants to hear you playing your instrument out on trail.
I think I read the same thing.
Yeah. You know, I'm sure that is also situation dependent. If you're probably an incredible musician or like you've got the maddest harmonica skills in the world, sitting around the campfire at night, maybe others would want to hear it, but you're better off asking.
Yeah, I for one might be a little bit too overstimulated by a banjo, for example. Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I don't think I've ever really listened to a lot of music, even like at camp. Usually I enjoy the silence, but I know not everybody does as much. But in general, I would just recommend to try to be quiet and let nature fill our ears, not your phone or your crappy harmonica playing. Yeah, those nature sound benefits that we talked about last episode.
Exactly. How are you going to soak those up if you're listening to some like garbage on someone's phone? Sorry. This is pretty related as well. If you are camping near others, give each other space. don't come up right up on someone's campground and pitch your tent. Honestly, that hacks me off so much. And I know it's not always that simple. There's sometimes not a lot of places to camp. So I think in that type of circumstance, people are generally going to be understanding. You kind of have to somewhat be in a close area.
Right.
But if you can avoid camping near others, please do that, because nobody likes that.
It's the bathroom stall principle again. I feel like I've talked about this, but if you go into a bathroom and there's 3 stalls and one is occupied, you don't go in the one next to that one. You go in the other one.
Yeah.
You get one stall in between.
You do. Give each other your space. Please. I tell ya. And I know, like, again, on the river, sometimes it's complicated, but camping along the river and, you'll have, like, this nice little gravel bar to yourself. And maybe I'm just entitled AF, but people will pull up in their boats and, like, be ready to camp, just on the same gravel bar, especially when I know that there's lots of places to camp. Yeah. Some rivers, it's not that simple. But if I know there's other space, I get irrationally heated.
It's like, excuse me, y'all, I reserved this site.
Like, now I'm going to be mad all night.
I get it. It's like an invasion. I feel like I can't be myself.
If there's space to spread out, do it. Just do it. And along that line, I was reading some stories this morning. It was kind of interesting. Some places, even while backpacking, some campsites are going to require a reservation, even if they're not like car camping sites. So you want to make sure and you do your due diligence to your research before you head out. You want to reserve those sites when necessary, obtain all those required permits and whatnot. Sometimes there's even little like site markers that you need to pick up on the trailhead before you start, which I really wasn't aware that sometimes that's a thing. But I thought that was interesting. But if you take care of those reservations and those permits, you're going to avoid conflict when you get out there. And you're going to have a guaranteed place to stay, which is obviously super important. But don't just assume you can just roll up and have a campsite. There may be somebody already there that has, like reserved and paid for it. And nobody wants to get into a...
Oh, man, I would be so mad if I was the person who had reserved it.
Right. And I think I think that happens. This woman, I was reading her account and they stood firm and eventually this other group left. But they weren't quick to want to leave, even though they hadn't reserved the spot. And she's like, if we hadn't have stood up for ourselves, like, we would have been shit out of luck. Just something to keep in mind, just to avoid potential conflicts and whatnot, confrontations. I think that's always a good idea.
Yeah.
And just goes a long way in making sure that you are where you're supposed to be and you're respecting other spaces when you're just checking off those requirements before you even get on trail. I know some of this Katy is going to cover more and we'll discuss when we hop into our Leave No Trace conversation. Leave no trace is a huge part of good trail etiquette. So some of that looks like always staying on trail, be mindful of where you're stepping, stopping for breaks on durable surfaces, things like that, walking through mud or water puddles, not around them, because that just widens the trail and often causes more damage to the drainage and whatnot, which, that's kind of hard for me even to want to like stomp right through the mud hole instead of easily going around it. But I understand the purpose of that recommendation. So like I said, we'll jump into a little bit of that more when we're talking about Leave No Trace. But real quickly, I also wanted to talk about hiking with your pets. I assume it's mostly dogs. We were just having a conversation about how some people take their cats, which
blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, like good for you guys, but awesome. Wow, hard for me to imagine taking my grumpy cat. My friendly cat maybe, but grumpy cat probably not. But that's just like the cutest little mental image in my mind of like someone hiking with their kitty on a leash. But generally, we know it's dogs on trail. That's something that I want to learn more about and work on. I have a fairly new pup in my home and we're working on leash and all these things. And I hope to make her into a great hiking dog, but just little bits at a time. We're working on that. So I definitely learned some stuff kind of researching this topic, but I'll just quickly touch on that. Your dog probably needs to be on a leash. Unless you're in an area where it's not required. Most places are going to require your dog be on a leash. If they are not leashed, they need to be extremely well trained and recall to your voice. That's one we'd have to work at. Woo. Just like your own self, when it comes to an animal, leave no trace. You have to pack out their waste. People don't like that, but you gotta do it. Although I have a question about that, and maybe we can touch on this just a little bit. Can you bury dog waste?
I've seen mixed reviews on this, but my immediate answer is yes. I mean, if we can leave our waste.
Right, as long as you follow the same protocol, which we're going to talk about, of your own waste.
Right.
If you bury it and do all these things properly, do you feel like that's probably acceptable?
I do. I've seen people talk about, like, bringing the bags, but only to, like, pick it up to put it into...
Yeah, that makes sense.
The cat hole and everything, so... And I think it's going to be trail dependent because some of these trails, like, I feel like we're sort of covering both hiking and backpacking here, but backpacking is going to be a different game. I mean, like, if you're day hiking, I imagine you pick it up and you just haul it out with you because why wouldn't you, really?
Right.
But if you're, like, on a multi-day backpacking trip, that's a lot of poop.
It's a lot of poop.
And, if you're not in an area where you're required to do that for yourself, I just don't see why you would. Right.
So I'd say use your best judgment.
Yeah.
But don't just leave it on the trail.
Exactly.
That's like the number one thing. Like, don't do that. Again, and I'll go back in just a little bit and say, I know not everybody feels like their dog needs to be on leash. A lot of dogs can function just fine without being on leash. The problem is that there can be other dogs in the area or other dogs that aren't on leash. And then you're going to have a situation that's a little bit out of your control. Dogs can be reactive, all these things. So it's probably best to leash your dog unless you're not legally required to do so. And even then, it might be in your dog's best interest to stay close.
Right. Like, my dog stays hot on my heels
yes.
and half the time probably wouldn't require being leashed. But
no.
I feel like making sure that if she's not leashed, that I'm able to leash her quickly is safer for her because,
right.
like you said, like, she's not really the problem, but if there's another reactive dog, I want to make sure she's contained and safe and that I can pick her up and...
So true.
And not have a bad situation and have her get hurt.
That's exactly it. And I think that really shows my next point and my next recommendation, which is to always advocate for your dog when you're on trail. And that means doing the best that you can to make them uncomfortable, to make sure they're not uncomfortable. You need to, no, it's fine. You should be prepared for anything that your pets may need while you're out there, including in an emergency situation, because dogs can get sick, dogs can get hurt. They can undergo any of the same challenges that you do when they're on trails. So you need to be aware of those things and be prepared to help your dog with whatever they need. It also means that if your dog doesn't really like interaction, that you tell people that and you don't force your dog to deal with people and their affection and their attention if they don't really like it.
Dude, that is one of my biggest pet peeves, and is when someone has a dog and you can tell, like, as someone who has pets yourself, that dog is not having it. They're uncomfortable. They're like furred up and growling.
Right.
And the person's like, "Oh, they won't bite." It's like, I don't think you know that for sure.
Right.
Like, I can tell they're not comfortable with this.
Yes, this conversation goes both ways because you always need to ask before approaching a dog that's not your own.
Yeah.
And just like if you are the owner and, maybe the dog doesn't even really look mean or unhappy. I know for my own pup, she's not really comfortable with affection from strangers. She'd just really rather you didn't.
Yeah.
She's probably not going to bite you or anything, but I know that she doesn't like it, so I'm not going to let it happen.
Right.
I'm not going to let people handle her when she doesn't like it.
And that is a good point, too, is that they may not look unfriendly or anything.
Right.
But from working in a vet office, I will tell you, like, the most close I've ever gotten to being bitten was, like, by a total quiet, surprised dog. Not one that even was acting fractious in any way. It was like a sneaky, it kind of reached its limit. It had had enough and...
Yeah.
Snapped. And luckily, I mean, if you're restraining them appropriately, it's fine. But, like, I will say... There's a lot of body language cues that you don't necessarily always pick up on.
It's true. And again, I'm pretty sure my dog wouldn't bite anyone, but I also know she just doesn't like it. And it doesn't have to be that I'm afraid of her reaction. I just know she's uncomfortable and I don't want her to feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to make my kids put up with people touching or giving them affection,
Right.
you know, and it's no different. I don't want people giving me attention or physical contact if I don't want that. Like, hell no.
Do not touch my shoulder.
Right. So it's really no different from our dogs. Like, let's try to make them comfortable out there, whether you are the owner or you're the other person. Always ask before you approach. And owners, I know how it is. Sometimes you just want to be friendly and you don't want to like ruffle feathers, but don't be afraid. Like, nah, she would rather you didn't. You know, like, no, she's good, or we're busy. She's working. Dogs sometimes are working in the woods. They're training. They have different expectations for their day. They have different intentions for their day. You don't assume that you know. So it's best just to be pleasant, greet owner and dog, but maybe just move on. You don't have to pet every dog.
Yeah. And I will say, just as a side note, if a dog does seem uncomfortable and fractious, we kind of always learn to tilt our body a little bit sideways and not like face them straight on and
stare them
like
down,
staring into their eyes, which I kind of feel like is a good rule of thumb for humans
right.
too.
It's not a bad idea. I feel like that's how I naturally interact a lot of the time.
Don't stand spread eagle in front of me, please. I will be uncomfortable.
So that's kind of what I mean when I say advocate for your dog. And of course, you're going to want to make sure and bring all those things that make your dog happy, healthy, and comfortable while you're out there.
I really like that. It kind of makes me look forward to, in the future, maybe doing a whole episode on doggos on
Me
trail.
too. It's kind of exciting to think about it too, and not in the sense of like how to manage this dog, but more of like how to work with them on the trail and learn from each other.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds really fun. I did want to throw out really quickly, because this is pertinent, is that if you have a dog, you never have the right of way anymore.
Really?
Yeah. You have to get out of the way every time.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
I feel like I do that instinctually.
I think most dog owners do. Like, you know, you got to get the dog out of the way every time. Yeah. That person might not be comfortable. They may have a dog. Who knows what the situation is. So good dog owners, I feel like, already do that.
Yeah.
But you get out of everybody's way if you're bringing your doggo.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not everyone loves dogs. I don't understand it, but I respect it.
Right. I do too. And, you know, again, I'd sure hate to have to take a break. Not really.
Right? Gosh, I really don't want to catch my breath right now.
Exactly.
I'd love to keep panting.
I was talking with a group of women the other day, and some of them are expressing some interest in hiking. And they're like, is it okay if we like breathe heavy and like huff and puff? I was like, is there another way to do it? Like, I think that's part of it.
How do you not do that?
Yeah. I think it made them feel better. So
I
maybe
love
someday they will join us. So that pretty much summarizes some basic trail etiquette without launching into the leave no trace principles. But we're going to get into those next. Where are we going to start?
Oh, I loved that. All right. So leave no trace. First of all, I feel like silly that I'm saying this, but you'll also see it just abbreviated LNT. And if you're like me, sometimes you're going to space on these connections.
Same.
And be scratching your head and be like, why does everything have to be abbreviated?
Right.
So, leave no trace, LNT principles. There's 7 of them. One of them is to be considerate of others. I'm not going to say anything about that because Sam pretty much just covered it.
Don't be a dick. Sorry.
Well, and also, I will say, like, I feel like some of that can be summed up in just read the room.
Right.
The trail equivalent of read the room, read the energy. I know that's not a skill that comes naturally maybe to everybody, but I think it's worth cultivating because it can kind of, you know, help you pick up on some cues.
All of this is so situation dependent, and it can really vary, but I think if you're just trying to be a good person and not make life harder for anyone else, you're probably doing okay.
Yeah. So we're going to start with plan ahead and prepare. Proper prior planning prevents poor outcomes. And it also prevents you from being dubbed the trail nincompoop. So adequate knowledge of the area that you're traveling to. I feel like we all try to prepare because we want to take care of ourselves, but it does also help you reduce your impact on the area. So along that line, some things that you can pay attention to are regulations or very specific concerns for the area that you're going to be visiting. Some example these are wag bags required? Is this one of those areas that's just a very delicate ecosystem and you do have to carry out your poop? You need to know that ahead of time so that you can reduce your impact. Are bear canisters required? That's a big one. So you can find all this information. It just needs to be incorporated into all of your trip planning. Mm-hmm. You need to study the area in your route ahead of time to plan your campsites in areas more suited to camping. I saw that you can schedule your trip to avoid times of high use and to also try to visit in smaller groups or, if possible, split larger groups into smaller ones.
Yeah.
I honestly hadn't really read this as a part of this principle before, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And to be honest, half the time I schedule my trips to avoid times of high use just because I'm not the most social person in the world to begin with.
Not really why we're going out there.
Right. So I'm like, I already got that one. It also says to prepare for extreme weather, hazards, emergencies. The premise behind this is that if you go out there unprepared and you have to be rescued, that's maximizing your impact on the area that you're going to.
And it's poor etiquette, frankly. If you're putting yourself in an obviously bad situation, that means you're putting your rescuers into a bad situation, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so
use your brain.
Do your best. Kind of know what to expect to the best of your ability. And then also a very simple way to reduce some waste is to repackage your food ahead of time, which I kind of think helps with, like, packing your pack also.
Cutting some weight.
So number 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces. Kind of goes right back to that proper planning, knowing your regulations, knowing any sort of special eco considerations. I don't know if that's a word, but
it is today.
It is today. So when they talk about durable surfaces, they're talking about established trails when you're hiking, and then rock, gravel, sand, dry grasses, ice, or snow as your camping surfaces, because these particular surfaces are just a little bit more resilient to our bumbling, exhausted human efforts when we're trying to pitch our tents.
Don't just go stomp some wildflowers.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're hiking, you're going to march in a single file in perfect unison. Just kidding. But as Sam mentioned earlier, you do want to try to be single file on established trails. Don't be traipsing off trail, even if it is muddy or there's mud puddles. Just try to channel your inner child and play in them.
I love that.
Recall those days of making mud pies and thinking that it was the most fun thing ever. Do kids still do that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
My kid does.
So when you're camping in more popular areas, you're going to use existing campsites. Try to keep your camp area tight. Do not sprawl out all over the vegetation. Keep your camp to yourself and the vegetationless areas. This kind of goes back to what Sam was saying about, like, you want to give people space where available, but if it is kind of a smaller camp area, this is going to be one where it's like you're going to stick to the areas where there's already no vegetation and not be kind of creating, like, enlarging the camp area.
Right.
Many trails, especially in our area, do allow for primitive camping. Be mindful that if both are available to you on a trail, you should still be trying to camp in the established campsites. They're just the preference. They are where they are for a reason, and condensing traffic to those sites is sort of your best bet for minimizing your impact. If you are primitive camping, camp at least 200 feet from water sources to protect their ecosystems, but also to avoid interfering with the access of wildlife to those water sources. Try to camp also at least 200 feet from the trail and not be, like, super easily visible from the trail, just to kind of respect other people's experience. If you're in a group, disperse yourselves. This will help prevent creating new campsites and trails that other people will then see and, flock towards and create more impact. Try to avoid areas where you can see impacts beginning so that hopefully they have a chance to bounce back. And then remember the rule of thumb that good campsites are found, not made. So I think this comes with experience. You'll kind of learn to eyeball a decent site versus not one, but you shouldn't be needing to make a bunch of alterations in order to make it suitable for camping.
Right, please don't do that.
You're just like bringing a shovel and digging on the
handsaw. Don't do that. Don't.
Number 3, respect wildlife. I had touch grass, not squirrels. This seems like a self-explanatory rule, but there's several different aspects that you may or may not have thought of. So your best rule of thumb is to just avoid interaction as much as possible. Observe creatures from a distance. Do not feed them.
Oh.
I don't care how Disney-like their eyes
Should
in a
bring,
bar.
like, some honey roast peanuts
No.
hanging out there.
I don't
Just
care if they
joking.
have big fluttering lashes and they're just begging away. Feeding wild animals habituates them to us, and as delightful as that sounds,
Yeah.
altering these natural behaviors is always going to put them in danger. Like, we think about bears when we say things like this, but it's really any wildlife.
Right.
Plus, the food that we're eating is not great for their health.
No.
Especially the food we tend to be eating on trail, let's be
Right.
real.
Yeah.
So,
Just puts them at more danger, more risk of danger when they gain that taste for, like, human food and such, too, you know?
right. Abide by bear canister laws, but also be mindful that there's other curious and relentless critters. Here's looking at you, raccoons. So they're also out there. They can also get into your food. You need to secure it in some way. We talked extensively about pets, so I'm not going to go too much into that, but part of respecting wildlife is to keep your pets leashed or under control for everyone's safety. Honestly, this is another one where I think if it's not required, a lot of people leave pets off leash because they have good recall, but honestly, I think sometimes, especially with certain breeds, when it comes to their hunting instinct, it's best to just keep them on leash.
Right. The best dogs sometimes still have, like, that prey drive or whatever
Right.
they call, so don't really want them taken off after something.
Yeah.
Might have a hard time finding them.
I know.
What a nightmare.
I would hate that.
You could never leave the woods until your
I
dog
would
came
just
back.
live there forever.
I know. Terrible.
I could
terrible
never leave
thought.
them behind. So I also just want to encourage you to arm yourself with knowledge about the ecosystem that you're going to be a guest in and significant seasons for the wildlife that live there. So be thinking about mating seasons, nesting seasons, seasons when they're raising their young. They just may have heightened sensitivities during that time where they're more susceptible to damage or they're more aggressive. So, learn about those things. I also would encourage you to just practice awareness by noticing the paths that wildlife is leaving in the area you're hiking through, and do your best not to interfere with areas that it seems like they frequent, maybe in search of food or on their way to visit a water source. So that kind of goes back to engagement
I love
in
that.
your environment.
Good advice.
Okay, so number 4, leave what you find. This one truly is self-explanatory. Whatever it is, leave it. Even if your heart is aching to pick it up and clutch it to your bosom and keep it with you for all eternity. Take a picture. You can pine over it and come back and visit it at another time. Unless it's trash, please pick up trash. I encourage you to do so. Leaving what you find also kind of covers leaving things how you found them. So it goes back to not altering the landscape. So you can't be building forts out there or digging trenches to spy on other hikers from. Sorry if that's just your bread and butter, but
Creepy.
I had to laugh because on the official thing it says like not to build furniture. And I'm like, who's out in the woods building furniture? Like, I don't. Are you making a makeshift chair out there? I don't.
It's like Sasquatch, and that's about it.
So I feel like you shouldn't have to say that. But yeah, if you like building chairs in the forest, I guess don't.
Stop it. Or go to your private property and build your furniture in the woods.
Number 5. This one's going to be kind of a fun one. I learned some things that I didn't even know existed for me to learn. From a warm meal perspective, this just means cooking over a fuel stove versus a campfire. From an ambiance perspective, you could have a little flickering lantern. When fires are allowed and conditions are safe, you're wanting to use established fire rings where they're available. Otherwise, use fire pans or mounds. So I looked this up because I was like, what are they talking about? What is that? A fire pan is described as a metal container with sides of height sufficient to contain all ash and debris.
Okay.
Not ideal for backpacking because they're huge and usually elevated. So if you think about when you're at a campground or even kind of like a day use area, and they have those like metal poles with the little box things on them that you cook on.
Okay.
That's essentially the type of thing they're talking about. So
like a portable fire ring almost.
So I don't think most of us are going to be carrying that backpacking.
No.
I also saw them talking about fire blankets that you build the fire on. So a fire mound, this was strange to me because it almost seemed counterintuitive to leave no trace, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So a fire mound is basically where you gather some soil or sand and you kind of set it to the side, save it for later. So then you lay down a thick tarp or a ground cloth and you cover that with other dirt in a mound like 4 to 6 inches thick, and then you build your fire on top of that. So when you're done, you basically pick the whole thing up to keep it all contained, and then you take your little stash of soil from earlier and like replace the topsoil, and then you go scatter the other stuff all throughout the woods. Again, not really ideal for backpacking, but now I know. So
yeah, it's interesting
because I was like, I've never heard of those things before.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I think just naturally I don't have fires as much as I probably expected coming from like a car camping background and like river camping background, because we almost always had a campfire. So I think I kind of expected that in the beginning of backpacking, just because I think it was hard to imagine the camping experience without one.
Right.
But now, unless there is an established ring, I don't ever really make a fire, and I don't really miss it.
No, it feels like a lot of work in that context to me.
It really does. And now, reading this and learning more about this, it makes me really not ever want to have a fire unless it's an established fire ring.
It's too much work to do it, the way that
it is.
Need to.
It's too much work almost just to build a fire sometimes at all.
I know.
So
it's like, was that worth the 2 hours? Because I'm ready to go to bed now.
Right, exactly. So maybe just don't build a fire.
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
That is a solid option.
So some other rules of thumb are to keep your smiles small. Keep your fire small. I don't know where that came from.
Keep your smile real big.
Keep your fire small. Only build fires in areas where downed wood is readily available so that you don't have to gather it through more destructive ways. Also, do not bring in wood from the outside because it can have pests or diseases. So you're supposed to burn your fire all the way down to ash. Soak it with water, make sure it's completely out, and then once it's cool, scatter the ashes over a large area. I saw another source say to also scatter your unused wood to return the site to its all-natural status.
Interesting.
Again, a lot of work. Something to be aware of that's very area-specific that I was not aware of. Certain areas like river corridors may have regulations requiring you to pack out your ashes. So do your research. Again, in that scenario, I'd say just don't have one because that really seems like a hassle.
Honestly, like scattering the ashes and everything, like I'm not taking the time to do that.
On top of everything else.
No, and I will say I think it's nice if you are at an established camp with a fire ring. I don't really see the harm in if you have extra firewood just leaving it for the next person if it is like a very established fire spot. Right. Otherwise, I can see like tossing it back in the woods, but I'm just not sure I'm going to be doing a lot of
kind of what I thought too.
Fires without a set place to do one, and usually I'm pretty dang tired by the end of the day anyway. So
that's a lot of extra time and energy invested just to sit around it for a little bit.
It is, but I could see, if you were with groups and whatnot, it could be nice too.
Yeah, you could split up the tasks that way. That might help. All right. Dispose of waste properly. Pack it in. For this pack it out, peeps.
Who would have known this would be the one I'm so excited about?
It was mine, too. I was most excited about it. So going back to planning appropriately, bring a lot of sealable bags for your trash because you have to pack it all out. All of your trash, also any leftover or spilled food, used tissue, all of it.
Everything.
When it comes to wastewater management, you want to wash yourself and your dishes at least 200 feet from your water sources. If you're using soap, make sure it's biodegradable and use as small amount as possible. And then scatter your dishwater when you're done. If toilet facilities are available on the trail you're using, use them.
Yeah.
Primitive pooping. This is honestly the part that I got most excited about. I don't know why. Here's the rundown, though.
Well,
so what you gonna do? You're gonna find your spot. You're gonna dig a cat hole. Make sure it's at least 6 to 8 inches deep. No 4-inch, no 3-inch, 6 to 8 inches. Okay, I can't keep doing that, but there you go. Cast very swift and apprehensive glances around you. Squat and go. Keep a sharp eye as you go. That's optional. I mean,
I know. Sometimes I get tired of being paranoid.
I feel like if you're truly acting like a cat, you're going to be really nonchalant about it and just be like, I'm pooping gold.
Like, do it in front of people.
Right? So wipe or wash if you're a bidet person and put that used paper or wipes, whatever, in a designated shitlock bag. And yes, I made that up specifically for this episode.
I like that. I love that. That's totally going in because I have what I call my shit kit. And now it's the shitlock bag in my shit kit. That's so perfect.
So optional, you can admire your deposit and your aim if you would like to. Either way, when you're ready, cover it back up with dirt and disguise it so nobody ever knows what happened there. Some other poop rules.
This is the best content we've ever made.
I feel very juvenile, but I have no regrets.
Let's run with it.
If you're camping more than one night or in a group, disperse your secret shites over a wider area. Avoid areas where you can tell water flows, even if they're seasonal and dry at the time. Bonus points for selecting sites in direct sunlight to help speed up the decomp process, according to one source.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Personally, pooping in direct sunlight sounds absolutely terrible to me, but, I guess that's why you get bonus points. If you're going to shit and sweat, take one for the team. Good for you.
A little sunshine on the buns. A little sun on the buns. Never hurt anybody.
I heard it's good for them.
I can imagine that. Although some of these people with their under nether region sunbathing, I'm like, I don't know, guys. Maybe not. Don't do that. But
why do we humans insist on taking everything to the extreme? That's what I want to know. Like, can we just be reasonable? So anyway, those are the 7 principles of leave no trace.
Yes. Thank you, Katie. That was a very informative presentation of those principles.
Well, that was a lot more fun because last time I talked about these, I was being relentlessly attacked by sweat bees. So I feel like I could focus a little more today.
Yeah, same. And also, we just are taking ourselves a little less seriously, which is probably a good thing. Not our content, but just ourselves trying to talk about these things. It's all right to be juvenile when you're talking about pooping in a hole. It's okay.
Right.
You can't laugh at that.
I mean, if you can't laugh at that, what are you even doing?
I know. Like, I don't really want to hike with you if you can't laugh about that. You are no fun. Okay.
So I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation, and I'm going to prelude this by saying this is opinion, this isn't facts. It's just sort of what came up in my brain when I was looking into some of these. And kind of like going back to humans always going to the extremes. Mm-hmm. I do want to say that, I fully support, leave no trace principles and doing your best to minimize your impact.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the extreme attitudes that emerge around the leave no trace principles and other things too. But since this is what we're talking about, I just feel like I see a little bit too much unkindness and judgment here not to mention it.
Right.
I think that there's a real problem with gatekeeping in the outside space in general and with arrogance. And so...
Please drop us your line. Please tell us
yes.
the way it is. Okay.
And honestly, I'm including forcing your quote-unquote education on someone under the arrogance umbrella because that's kind of what I see within this space sometimes. Is oh, but we're educating people. Right. It's like, are you?
Right.
Are you?
Maybe don't be quite so quick to skewer another human. Because I do see so much of that attitude when we're talking about conversations around hiking and whatnot.
Me too. And I do think, we all have an individual responsibility. But I think for the most part, There's always exceptions, but most of us that are seeking out these experiences, we are taking individual responsibility.
Absolutely. The outliers can make it seem like it's a bigger problem sometimes than it is, or it's more of an extreme situation than it is. And generally those kind of bad behaviors are outliers. I totally agree that most people that want to spend their time out in these outdoor spaces are trying to do so as respectfully as possible. I like to think that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think it's absolutely true. I do think we're all doing our best. But I also just wanted to talk about how the reality is that looks a little bit different for everybody depending on where they are. So I think when it comes to the type of outdoor folks who have been exploring the area, loving the area, caring for the area for years because it's their home and maybe has been for generations, it's going to look different for them. It's going to be a less formal approach than maybe other people, but they do still care about the area.
They've been stewarding perhaps for generations.
That's the perfect word. And it's not going to look like it will for other people. But I just want to say, again, this is 100% opinion, but I just feel strongly enough about it that I want to say it, that newcomers to an area and outsiders to an area, treating locals with disdain because they aren't like you and don't approach a trail like you and maybe don't use the same leave no trace principles or even just the same verbiage as you.
Right.
Like, I just find that abhorrent. I think it's wrong. And I'm really tired of seeing it in these spaces. And I'm talking specifically because we live in the Ozarks.
Right.
So I am focusing that sentiment a little more to this area. I can't speak on any other area, but that's what I see here sometimes, and I'm honestly sick of it. I think it's gross.
I do too.
So
we're you and I are kind of a unique perspective because we're locals and users.
Yeah.
And a lot of the users of our trails here in the Ozarks don't live here. Most of them don't. I would say by and large, a huge majority don't. So I think you're making an excellent point. Thank you.
And I just want to say it, I know I'm saying this a little more strongly than I may say other things, but the people who are traveling to these areas, I just think that you need to take a step back, maybe take several steps back and even take a seat because there's also stuff that you can learn from the locals.
Right.
And I just think that, I don't know, there's a lot of value to be found in the knowledge that the locals have in the way that they live their life.
So true.
And that's not to say that there's not room for improvement, but I think that when it comes to coming into these areas and trying to tell people what to do, yes, there are certain things we probably need to implement, for the future of our environment and to protect it. But I just feel like you need to listen before you speak in some of these areas because, they have a lot of value to offer.
Right.
And again, I'm talking in a very generalized way because there are those outliers that have absolutely no respect. But frankly, those aren't typically the people that are very connected to the prior generations and the land. They just kind of live here. So I'm not really talking about them.
And you should probably understand that these people that are local, that have been here for a long time, maybe their families have been here for a long time, maybe their principles aren't exactly like yours, their regulations that they follow may not line up exactly with yours, but I think you have to respect that they most likely contain knowledge about these areas more than you could ever learn in a lifetime because it's been handed down. And not everybody that lives locally has family that's been here forever, but we are living and working and breathing and growing and in these spaces all the time, every day,
Right.
And I think that does deserve some respect. I do.
I do too, and those lived experiences give you a knowledge that you can't read in a book.
Right.
And I'm not disrespecting science because I freaking love science.
Me too.
But there's a difference between reading about something and thinking you know everything versus having watched the same environment year after year after year.
Right.
Go through the seasons.
Be a part of the environment.
Yeah.
A product of.
So I wanted to touch on that because I'm sick of seeing it. And also, I just wanted to mention...
Ooh, I love it.
Whew, I'm fired up.
I love that. Yes, Katy, go.
So Sam and I both have kind of been enjoying a certain hiking group's unpopular opinion thread. And I'm not going to share names or quote anything verbatim, but I really appreciated something that somebody posted in there. And the premise of it was that they viewed some of these anti-littering campaigns, including Leave No Trace, as propaganda that has effectively shifted our attention from corporations, specifically American corporations, to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by shifting the environmental responsibility entirely to the shoulders of the individual, they've essentially distracted us with this infighting to keep us from, or to keep them from having to take responsibility themselves. So while we're out here yelling at each other about cairns or litter, they're just happily continuing to produce single-use plastics and pollutants that have a far greater impact than any one of us does. I know that the word propaganda freaks people out, and I can already see people getting angry and huffing at the idea that they might be susceptible to propaganda.
And not all propaganda is bad.
Yeah.
Leave no trace is not bad. You know?
Right. But I think he makes a really fair point.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
A wonderful point, and really is reflective of not just the hiking world, but like our society, especially in America in general. We have all this infighting, and meanwhile, corporations, those in power, are just like making record-breaking profits and all these things, and we're not always fighting the right opponent.
I just really feel like we should maybe be a little bit more careful with where we're directing that righteous anger.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, it's just food for thought. And maybe next time that you're out hiking and you like find some trash and you take all those pictures and you very eagerly share them to social media. Like, I just think maybe instead of focusing entirely on bashing this unknown hiker who left it and simultaneously patting yourself on the back for being the Lord and Savior who picked it up, I don't maybe zoom in on the label and call attention to those corporations that are continuing to produce this single-use packaging that honestly is the bane of my existence.
Right.
And, make them a part of that conversation.
Google the problem with Nestle and your eyes will be opened. Just go ahead. I'm telling you right now.
Do it, we dare you.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was an opinion piece. 100% come for me. I don't care. I'm ready. But I don't know. I just think that we need to stop focusing so much on other people and make some of the larger problem a part of the conversation, because I don't know. I'm always happy for people to pick up trash, but it kind of rubs me the wrong way when I am bombarded with pictures that people post where they're just going on and on about, like, I can't believe
bad-mouthing the locals generally.
Yeah. Like you don't know who that person was. You don't know what the circumstances were also.
The locals hate that shit, too.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. We're local, and I get irritated, too, but I pick it up.
That. Right.
And you know what I don't do? I don't post it on social media every single time.
I'm all for you guys picking up spare trash. In fact, I read it described as negative trace, which I kind of love that.
I love that.
So kind of even improving the space from when you were there. You know, when you leave it, it's a little better than before. And if that's possible, I think that's great. But, just don't do it for social media clout.
I know, and it's like, geez, if that's what gives you value as a human, I hate to stomp all over you. But like I said, maybe do it, but draw attention to the corporations that produced that trash. Trace it back to the source and the root of the problem instead of... And the other thing I want to say is you never know what someone's circumstance was, and I am not making excuses for litter. But, guys, there's a very good chance in some of these scenarios there was an emergency.
Right.
Like, you don't know.
No, you can't assume, and that's what people do so much of.
Ideally, someone would go back and pick it up eventually, but... I don't know. To me, personally, if you're going to be, like, patting yourself on the back and bashing a human being for having picked up trash, in my mind, it negates any credit that I would have given you for doing it in the first place. Way. So, I feel like I'm just hounding on folks, but seriously.
No, I don't think so, Katie. I really appreciate you bringing that up, and I think it's good that we start injecting little bits of our opinion into what we're trying to say here. Because I feel like you've really just offered a very nuanced alternative viewpoint. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So glad. No, I think it's great.
My radio voice. Well, I'm very tired of the arrogance and the gatekeeping, because when we did our mental health episode, we touched very briefly on accessibility issues. And to me, this is a part of it.
Right. So true.
It's a big part of it. And so I feel like we should start our own unpopular opinion thread, but...
Guys, we may have an unpopular opinion episode and maybe not just talk about our own opinions, but some commonly held ones. I think it might be fun, but we'll see.
I think it should be like, you may be a sanctimonious asshole if you have ever... ...
I like that. I think we should.
So yeah. Wow. We rolled right through that.
That was...
Look at us go.
So good. Yeah, see, now it's time for me to go. So it's like perfect timing. So guys, I think we're going to hang it up. But come back. Tune in for our next episode. Should be out in 2 weeks. April 1st, we'll begin our Movement for Mental Health Spring Challenge. And we just really hope you guys get involved. Whatever that looks like for you. Just please come join us. And anytime you feel like communicating with us, we would just absolutely love to hear from you. So please hit us up on our Facebook or Instagram page. You can send us an email. There's a few options there, but we would love to hear from some of you.
We really would. Send us your opinion pieces. I want to read them.
I would love that. That should be interesting.
Tell us what grinds your gears on trail. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
We're out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm Katy.
I'm Sam, and I still struggle with episode introductions.
We're accepting that may just be a part of who we are as people.
Yeah.
I hear the chainsaw.
You hear it in the head.
Okay. It's like...
Welcome back, Highwater Trekkies. Take 2.
I'm just now thinking it would have been hilarious to present this entire topic in sort of an old English style. Like, you know the super old etiquette books that are
Yes,
just
I
way
do.
over the top?
Yeah. It makes me think of that Beckman lady.
Yes. I'm going to take a sip of water.
I'm going to take a big fart. Just joking.